Hey folks, it's Steve with Legion Pro. And today we're going to be going over a topic that plagues buyers, sellers, and real estate agents. You know, when looking at a home, there's a lot of things that could raise concerns, but even on an inspection with a professional inspector, a lot of buyers don't really know what they should be looking for. So today we're going to go over the most common items that you see on inspection reports, and then also help you decipher what's a major concern versus just a regular routine item. So if you've ever bought or sold a home before, you know it can be an emotional roller coaster. There's the excitement of getting the signed contract and offer acceptance, and then there's the uncertainty and anxiety of a very long inspection report. So the one you're most commonly going to see on every inspection report is a GFCI outlet. This is a ground fault circuit interrupter outlet. And this is a great invention. Basically what it does is it keeps people from getting shocked when there's water present with electricity. And while it is a great invention, they do tend to go bad over time. And this is why it's not uncommon to see one or two of them are faulty or non-functioning on an inspection report. And while these show up on an inspection report, it doesn't really mean that anything is really wrong. It could most likely just be the receptacle itself needs to just be replaced. And those run about $50 to $75 to have replaced, just to give you an idea of price. Now, if it is the line itself, or if there is a GFCI missing, meaning that a new line needs to be run from the panel, now you're talking $600 to $700 to give you a sense of what a licensed electrician will charge for that work. The next one you'll often see on inspection report is damaged drywall, usually in a ceiling. It's from a bathtub, a sink, toilet, something that's overflowed over time and caused some damage to that drywall. You'll often see it as well on top floors when roofs tend to leak into the drywall. So while it's unappealing, it's a relatively simple fix so long as the leak has been remedied. Now, even some light mold remediation isn't so bad. I know it sounds worse than it is, but for the most part, it's something that can easily be addressed as long as the leak itself has been remedied. So the question then becomes, how much is this going to cost to repair? And really, when you get into this situation, you should be asking for more information from the seller side as to what was the cause of the leak and what was the remediation. You're going to want to see some receipts there too to make sure that you get a full description of what the problem was and how they remediated it. Because if it is indeed just a light leak that was fixed, then you're looking at something along the lines of, from a 1 foot by 1 foot drywall repair, that's about $185 to $200. If it's a full sheet, you're talking about, $400 or $500. However, if you had a major plumbing issue and it wasn't remedied proper, you're starting at least $500 to get that pipe fixed, because a plumber really doesn't open a door for less than a $200 surcharge just to come look at the project. So that will help you a little bit. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. If there's proper explanation, it could be as little as $200 to fix for a smaller repair, or about $400 or $500 to fix for a larger repair. Okay, so we start to get ourselves into some of the major items that could be a little bit more expensive. And water heaters is one that you're almost always going to see on an inspection report. It's going to be somewhat vague from the inspector. They're going to say that it's nearing the end of its useful life expectancy and to seek advice or information from a licensed professional. So how vague is that? What type of information are you getting there in terms of what is this going to cost? So give you some information on water heaters and what we recommend, and I'll give you an idea of what that costs. So water heaters at any point in time, they can go out and leak, right? For the most part, as you get to 12 to 15 years, that's pretty much the end of its useful life expectancy. And you can start to expect that it's going to leak at some point in time. So a few things you want to look for. If you see corrosion in the pipes, that's a sign that you have an imminent leak. Also, and ask your inspector this, if it's been installed with gate valves, it should have been installed with ball valves, because a gate valve is really a one-time use type of thing. And so ball valves will allow for reuse and less likelihood of failing. Also, expansion tanks are something that we pretty much always install. The expansion tank allows the extra hot water to flow into that tank rather than forcing itself into the pipes and putting too much pressure on the water heater itself. So if you see that the water heater has ball valves, it has an expansion tank installed, that means that the current owner took the time, took the advice from a good plumbing professional to have it installed right. So the useful life expectancy should be as long as 15 years or possibly more. And it's much less of a headache and worry of, is this going to leak right now? All right, another big ticket item is roof repairs. So if you get up on a roof, make sure that your inspector for the first part will get up on the roof, because you absolutely want them to. There are inspectors that won't do it, but you have to look at the roof, especially if you own it as a single family or multifamily, because that's all on you. Now, one thing that we point out is roof repairs such as patches are really just band-aids that are eventually going to fail. Even though there can be some really good patches, you just know that there was a failure there in the past and it's likely to fail again. Another thing to look out for is pooling. So anytime that you see water starting to collect in a certain area, you can expect that part of the roof to start to stretch itself, and it weakens itself at that time. So if the water sits too long, it's eventually just going to come right through that roof. In terms of the age, well, we say anywhere from 25 to 30 years is what a good installation should give you. So if you do see on that inspection report or on the seller disclosure form that you're at over 23, 24 years, well, you really have to start budgeting for a new roof. And that's something where if you start to see patches and you know that it's about that 25 year, you pretty much have to factor that it's going to have to be replaced in at least the first 3 to 5 years that you own that property. So to give you a sense of what that costs, a large home, we'll use Hudson County for an example, a 25 by 100 lot, which is a standard in Hoboken, you're going to run into about a $20,000 to $25,000 roof, in some cases $30,000, right? So we perform roof repairs, roof replacements, and usually our numbers are less than our competition, and we get it done in a day or two. So reach out if you have any questions about that. We do patches as well. So if I had one recommendation in terms of extending the useful life of a roof, it would be to insulate it from the inside properly. Making sure that you keep a regular level of heat and cool will keep the roof from expanding and contracting. So if you see that a home has been insulated properly and the seller took the time to do that right, you know that even if the property has a roof that's over 20 years, you're not as likely to see failure as soon as you would with no insulation, one with roof patches. These are the types of things that you need to look for. So then it comes down to, what do you budget for this? So if you have a roof that is at 25 years, you see patches, you start budgeting right away. In Hudson County, you can really budget $15,000, $20,000 on average for a roof replacement. The larger properties will be 25 to 30. We're generally a little bit less expensive than most of the competition, and our work is usually done in a day or two. So call, text, or email if you have any roof questions. We also do perform patches. All right, so we'll finish this one out with electrical panels. Now, most people aren't really that understanding of electrical in general, and they're less understanding of what is it going to cost to do some of the electrical work. So what you're generally going to see on a lot of inspection reports is, you have reverse polarity, meaning that, it's basically a rewire that needs to be done with the receptacle itself. Not really so bad. But then you get into some more concerning items like Federal Pacific electrical panels. They're completely banned, right? Those have been phased out. And there are some lenders that won't even lend on a property that has them because they are a fire hazard. So if you see Federal Pacific, you got to replace that. And so to give you an understanding of what that means is the full replacement of that panel itself is going to run you anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000. Another thing that you will see that is a concern is if a panel is overloaded, where you see too many circuits for what the panel can hold, or if you have too much electricity being pulled out and you need a service upgrade. We often see, 60 amps that really should be 100 or 100 that should be 200. So, what do you budget for that? In those scenarios, if you need an electrical upgrade, it's going to be in that $2,500 to $3,000 range. With the larger properties, obviously, it's going to get above that $3,000 price point. But this will give you a sense of what you should be budgeting for these items. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Call, text, or email if you have any questions. Thank you again. Talk to you soon.